Okay, hi everyone. Welcome to chapter 5, functions, right? Yeah. So a function is basically a something that you should call and something that in Python that you can separate your code. So for example, a function will always start with a def, define, and the name of the function. You'll notice that you have to put a parentheses and a colon, and then you put your code, any kind of code you want. This part here is where we call the function. And here you can basically put anything you want. So here I can say print hello world. And if I click on the run, you'll notice that it's going to basically do whatever I want inside this function. Now you can create as many as functions as you want here. So here, for example, if I have a message to function, and here I'm going to say print by world. And you'll notice that if I click on the run button, it's going to only give me, it won't give me by world there. Because obviously here, we're going to, we have to call the name of the function, which in our case is message to here. Okay, and this is how we call the function here. So if you click on the run, you should see by world at the end there. So remember, a function is basically something that you can actually enter information into. All right, so here, let's do something else here. Let's do an input here under the message one. I'm going to declare a variable of last name that's going to equal the input. And here we're going to say enter the last name. There we go. And then let's go one for the first name. Okay, enter the first name. And here we're going to define the variable of the first name. Now from here, what we could do is basically obviously print. And here we're going to print info. There you go. And then here we're going to call the variables. So let's call the last name plus first name. Okay, like this here. And you notice that we're going to call that. Okay. All right. So when you click on the run button, you notice that here, let me click on the plus sign. Okay, so there we go. Okay, and then here we should, first of all, you have to spell it right. Input. Okay, enter the last name, Sim, Jason. And you notice that here we're going to get info, Sim, and Jason just like this here. Okay, all right. So now a function is basically, as you can see, where we can separate the code. And here I can do the same thing. I can continue. So right here, I can say address. Enter the address. Okay, and then here we can print you live at address. And you notice that we have two functions here now. If I click out here, the run button. Okay, and then 123 Street, and you notice that here we got the info, and then here we have you live at 123 Street, just like this here. Okay. All right. So as you can see, a function is pretty much easy to do and easy to create also. So if I call that function multiple times, like this here, let's see what this does. Okay, so you notice that here it's going to ask me twice. All right, and then finally it's 3 here, just like this here. Okay, so you can call the functions as many as times you want. That's completely okay. So you can also have basically, let me just delete this. Okay, so you can also have basically, if I take this message one out down here, just like that, let's see how this works. And now you notice that it's going to say enter the address because we have message 2 running first. So here I want to say 1, 2, 3. Okay. And then here we get basically our first, it's going to ask our last name and also the first name, just like this here. Okay. All right. So you can close the function. So you can, so it really depends on what you want to run first. And from there you can organize your functions. Okay, so in this example is basically where you can have a global number. So a global number or a global variable is a variable that can be seen among different functions. So you notice that a declarative variable of number equals 0. So start with 0. We have a function called main, and then we have a global number variable. This is just an input, and here we're basically showing, we're calling the show number function here, and then we're printing the number actually here. So if you go and run it, so here I'm going to just type in 1, 2, 3, and you notice that the num you entered is basically 1, 2, 3, just like this here. Now, if I take away this global number, if I just cut that out, if I say 1, 2, 3, you'll notice that we're not going to get an error, but it says basically the number you entered is 0. So because here it doesn't know exactly how to carry that number over here. Okay, and that's where we're calling the show number function right there. So here, as you can see, there's something called a global number or a global variable. So let's just go down here. Okay, there we go. Okay, so we can also add different types of functions here. So if I say def add, and then here I can pass parameters. So a parameter is basically something that you define after the function name. So here I have 2 parameters here, so as you can see. Now here I can take the total variable and then I can sum up the 2 parameters. So pretty much as you can see, we're totaling the 2 parameters, and then here we're going to print the actual total. All right, so now from here, I'm going to call the add function, and the 2 numbers I want to print up are basically 10 and 10, just like this here. Okay, so let's see how this works. All right, 1, 2, 3. Okay, so you'll notice that here we get that output. So you'll notice that here, well, what we need to call is basically the add. So the add, the reason why it didn't print out is basically I have to put the add over here. So you'll notice that it's going to say add 3, 3, I'm sorry, 10, 10, or something like that. Okay, and then print the total. So let's see what happens here. So 1, 2, 3, and here I got basically 20 right there. So I can keep adding those parameters. num3. If I go run this again, you'll notice that here I'm going to get 1 missing required positional argument. So I have 3 parameters here. The first parameter that's starting with num1, num2, and num3. So here I'm going to have to match that with the arguments. So here I'm just going to put a 20 here, and you'll notice that I should get basically, I forgot to add it up first. That will help. num3. Okay. Okay, and we should get basically 10 plus 10 is 20, and then another 20 there. Here we got basically 40. So those basically are parameters that we're working with. You could also, for example, if I wanted to enter numbers. So for example, here, if I say 1 int input, enter the first number, like that. Now, instead of 1, I could take num1 here, like that. Okay, so now I can, let's see what happens here. Okay, first of all. So if I go ahead and run this here, it says enter first. I'm going to enter 100 right there. Okay, let's see what happens. So 100 plus 10 is 110, plus another 20 is 130. So it overwrites basically 10 here, so as you can see. So what we could do is just put a 0 here, like that. Okay, and then go ahead and run that one more time. So this time I'm going to put 200, and you'll notice that we got 230, just like this here. All right, so if I go ahead and just enter, let's say, for example, I just wanted to enter 3 numbers. Num2, num3. Now from here, what I could do is put a 0 here. So those are going to be my arguments now. Okay, 1, 2, 3. That's the first one. I'm going to say 90, 90. I'm sorry, 9, 90. And here we got 189, just like that. Okay. All right. So so we got the total here, and if you want to get the average, you can do that for some reason, and so forth. Okay. All right. That's pretty cool. Again, these are the 3 parameters that we're passing. All right, the next thing I want to talk about is something called the random class. So here, if you type in import random, it's just like this here. So the random class is going to randomly give us numbers. So here, if I take the number, take the random here, there it is, random. And then here, if I say period, there will be something called a rand integer. So in this case here, I'm going to start with 1 and go, and my maximum number will be 10. So here I could print format. Is that wrong? Okay. So and then here we can say the random number is number. Like this here. And then we're going to have to call the main function, just like this here. So if you go and run it, so you notice that random number is 8, 6, 2, 10. 10 is the highest, 1 is the lowest. So if I increase the random number, random range, then notice I'm going to get a whole bit different numbers here. 83, 79, and so forth. So anytime you have to work with random numbers, this is basically one way you can actually work with in getting random numbers. All right. So so the random is basically means random integer. Okay, and it's going to give you basically a set of random numbers. All right, so the next example I wanted to show is basically where we can import the math class. So the math class is basically where we can get here. In one case, is the square root of a particular number. So here, if you do a period here, in your IDE, it should show a list. So I could say, let me go with square root first. And you'll notice that if I click on the run button, here, if I enter, it's going to automatically give you the square root of basically that particular number. And then here you can use, there's a min, there's a max. If you want to get the minimum number, if you want to get the maximum number. So let's see what this gives us. So if I enter this here, and here I'm going to get a error message, because here for the maximum number, you have to basically compare 2 numbers here, right? So right now I'm only comparing 1 number. So if I do this here, if I do this, do that, I'm just going to say number 1, enter a number, and then I'll say enter a second number. And here, what we want to compare is basically get the get the maximum of these 2 numbers here, number 1 and number 1 here. Here we could say the highest number, max, the max num is here. So here, and then we can print out basically either number or number 1 here. So let's see here. I'm just gonna get this one here. And let's see what this gives us. Enter a number, let's say 9. And I'm gonna say 1. Okay, it's just like this here. And then I got a number here. Let's see. Has no attributes. Let's see what's going on. Okay, so I made a mistake, obviously. So I forgot to declare a variable. That looks like this here. So the max number is going to hold, it's going to call the max function, and then compare the number and number 1. So if you go and run here, so if I say 10, 11, it's going to say that the maximum number between 10.0 and 11.0 is 11.0. So as you can see right there. So you can say max, min, and there are other different types of mathematical functions within that math class. Okay. All right. So there are some challenge exercises in that lab that I have created, and I highly recommend everyone to complete those, even though it's not going to be graded. Okay. Have a great day.